Hey, Jungle Goddesses. I've noticed that Fantastic Four is the worst movie of all time this week. But without seeing the film, I can pretty much guarantee that probably isn't true. I been somewhat of a Mystery Science Theater buff, and so I've seen quite a few bad films on that TV show, as well as without Mystery Science Theater. I am kind of a B-movie buff anyway, so it's always fun to check stuff out. I've been meaning to do a video regarding the bad selections on Mystery Science Theater for a while. For those of you who hilariously don't know, Mystery Science Theater 3000 is one of the best TV shows ever made. I am a huge Misty. It's where Joe Hodson or Mike Nelson, with the assistance of wacky fun robots, sit in front of a movie screen and watch a remarkably bad film and make fun of it as the film goes by in real time. I just love this show immensely. I haven't done videos about this for a while, and I hope to change that. But let's get things started with Top 10 Worst Movies Featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Now, these aren't really going to be so much about the content of the actual episode, whether it's a great episode, a decent episode, or a bad episode. I'm directly looking at the actual film that they had to work with. Whether or not they did a great job with it, doesn't really matter. I'm going to start right now with number 10. And it was the first really bad film that made an impression on me. It's Castle of Fu Manchu with Christopher Lee. And up until the time I saw this, I was convinced this was the first film they had ever done. It is a 1960s film with Christopher Lee playing Chinese villain Fu Manchu, and that was pretty much typical of the time. All the way up until the 80s, really, they had people playing Asian characters. So, I mean, that's what they do. They, painted their face, they taped their eyes back a little bit, they blackened their hair, and they had them be Asian, and that's just how it was back then. But that's not really so much the bad part of the film, although not great. It's a blurry fever dream of bullshit strangeness. I don't know what is going on in this film. I've had to watch this film dozens of times to kind of get it. And I don't think the fact that the film is edited down in order to fit the viewing time, or the fact that, the robots are making fun of the movie as we're watching it, I don't think that's a big factor in not knowing what's going on. This film is terribly edited. The print is bad, although, to be honest, I'm not sure how great the lighting was in the first place. For some scenes to be pitch black, when I know it's not supposed to be pitch black. The storyline is just incoherent, and Christopher Lee just picks up a paycheck with this one. This is, this makes his performance in the second Captain America TV movie look like, his Lord of the Rings performance. It's bad. The riffing on it is quite good, but wow, this was a tough one. And have to excuse the sirens, by the way. I live near a police station, fire station, hospital thing, and have to excuse me. And they apparently only have emergencies when I do videos. Number 9 is Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders. I considered putting this higher up on the list, but there's just way too much stuff. Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders is at least well lit. It's not even a real film. It's a film made by the same director who apparently used an old movie he made from the 80s and pieced it together with some new footage he shot in the 90s. And kind of sews together Frankenstein style, this mishmash of crap. It's essentially about Merlin and his wife come to the present to teach people the wonders of magic by selling them or just giving them objects that might kill them, or deform them, or do horrible things. But hey, at least they learn the spirit of magic. I hate this movie, actually. And it tries to design itself in the way of Ernest Borgnine and his grandson are sitting in a furniture showroom that's apparently supposed to be his house. And the lights go out while he's trying to watch a footage of another bad movie. And he starts telling about this screenplay he tried really hard to sell and couldn't. And then he goes into a story where Merlin sells this book of spells to an evil critic who apparently has become rich and famous giving bad reviews to strip malls or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't know there was a niche for that. Maybe I should be doing those reviews instead of this. They become rich and famous. Yeah, and the critic is cartoonishly dark evil. I mean, he's just... There's not a redeeming thing about him. So I'm wondering if this writer-director has any kind of cross to bear about what he's portraying in the film. I think he's being a little too blatant. Yeah, the film footage doesn't match between the two storylines. It's very obvious one's in the 80s and one's in the 90s. The film thinks it's way clever. And it has this... The 90s footage has this kind of Cinemax softcore porn feel to it, except there's no porn to it. It's just people walking around giving crappy dialogue to each other. But it's still that kind of flavor. It's bad. It's a painful movie. Fire Maidens from Outer Space is number 8, and it is the most padded, boring film I maybe ever seen. It's about these group of astronauts who I think are American and British, and I guess there's 4,600 of them in this cast, or 6, I can't tell. There's a lot of them, and they all look alike. They all look like Mitt Romney. And they get in this spaceship that is the same exact spaceship footage from several of their other 1950s films. And they don't go to the moon first. Back in the 50s, what you did was you went to one of the moons of Jupiter, because that's the easy shot to go. So they go, and they find the king of the lost city of Atlantis and his daughters who worship him. I don't know how... It's explained that when the city sank, they moved there. I'm not sure that... They kind of let that hang out there. Like they don't mention how they got from Earth to the moon of Jupiter when their city sank. You think maybe just across the ocean might have been just an easier trip, but then there's lots of running, then there's lots of dancing, there's more running, there's some dancing, and there's running, and there's a monster who's been kind of creeping around, which is basically a guy in a black leotard and a vague monster mask, but he doesn't do anything. So there's more running. It's really bad. It's one of the most mind-numbingly padded films I've ever seen. Roger Corman, looks like a Robert Rodriguez film compared to this film. It's tough to watch. And that's the thing I should mention is what I think I'm putting on my list is films that would be tough to watch without them, and maybe even with them. Radar Secret Service is definitely a film I would put. There's nothing wrong technically with the film. It's very well shot. It's from the guy who made I Accused My Parents. And the film is about this Secret Service branch that really loves the hell out of its tool of radar. There's like a prologue explaining how fucking awesome radar is, and then a whole bunch of characters who look a lot alike, who talk in the same kind of fast paced kind of cadence. There's like 3 dudes with black hair and a mustache, and I can't tell them apart. There's two women in the cast, and they look exactly alike. Everybody looks alike. I don't know why people complain about diversity. We need diversity, because I can't tell the fucking difference between any of these characters in this movie. Good lord, it's tough to watch. And thankfully the riffs in this episode are just wonderful. But, oh boy, good luck getting through this movie without them. Number 6 is Starfighters. And, you know, maybe Fire Maidens of Outer Space wasn't so padded now that I think about it. Starfighters is about a group of pilots in the 60s who go to this base to train, and most of their training, I guess, was refueling. I guess that was the biggest problem with our military, is they didn't know properly how to refuel planes, because there's at least 3 hours of refueling footage in this movie. I'm not actually kidding. There's a 7-minute refueling scene that this film opens with. A battle? No. Dialogue to get our characters introduced? Nah, fuck that. We need to see these 6 planes be refueled in almost real time with the world's most boring music. I mean, Hank Hill would find this music boring. And God, this film gives them nothing. It's amazing. It's the most Republican movie I've ever seen. It's like there's no art whatsoever. There's no character. There's no story arc. There's nothing. These guys go up in their planes. They go to this dance hall, but nothing's too sexy. This guy kisses a girl who suddenly becomes his girlfriend, the girl from Iowa, and she has, I guess, a line about her dad being a corn detachler or something like that. That's, I guess, her character. She's from Iowa. And they kiss more, and I guess the biggest thing is the lead guy, the lead young guy, is a pretty good pilot, and his dad wants him to fly a different plane. Not that that's the drama and the tension, is his dad wants him to fly other planes, not these planes. It's not exactly the Jazz Singer, as far as father-son dynamic is concerned. And literally, the father character phones in his lines. He's at a desk the entire movie. It's just like every 20 minutes, oh, hey, son, I don't want you flying those planes. Those planes I flew back in Korea, I guess, are much better. It's like, Dad, hey, these planes are great. I mean, that's almost the exact same dialogue. It's a tough movie. How this is one of my favorite episodes is amazing, because all the jokes these Mike and the Bots come up with is just immense. I don't know. This film gave them nothing to work with, and yet they fill this episode with hilarious jokes all the way through. It's actually one of my... if I did maybe a top 10, top 20 episode list, this would always be on it. I watch this episode every so often because the jokes are just non-stop on this one. How? I don't know. It's science. Number 5 is The Unearthly, which is a Dr. Monroe ripoff, starring John Carradine and Tor Johnson. Tor Johnson's in it, and the 50-foot woman's in it, and Allison Hayes. Allison Hayes. Yeah, that seems good. Hey, I like those people. It's a boring movie. It's really boring. You sit and watch these people drone on in a house that's really poorly lit, and nothing happens until literally the end of the movie. And it's not that exciting to save it. I've had trouble watching this. I've even once taped over this episode because it's so dull. I would not be able to get through this movie without Joel and the Bots. And to be honest, I've had trouble even with Joel and the Bots, because the film really amazingly doesn't give them anything. It gives them Time for Go to Bed and the 2 shorts at the beginning, but boy, I can't remember a damn thing from this movie. It's that dull. And you think, hey, that cast, a scientist doing evil experiments, that's got to be fun, right? No, it's not. I'd rather watch one of those videos that tries to sell you a house. I think that's just as exciting as this one. Number 4 is The Beast of Yucca Flats. And hey, I got 2 Tor Johnson movies in a row. This one is a starring feature with Tor, and he plays a scientist from Russia who tries to defect to Coleman Francis country. Oh, this is a Coleman Francis movie. If you're not familiar with Coleman Francis, he's literally the worst filmmaker I've ever seen. he is a poor, sad drunk who his films look like they were made by a poor, sad drunk. They're really tough films. I get that he tried. I do admire the fact that he did try to kind of bring that out in his work, but oh boy, he needed a whole crew to kind of point him in the right directions. His films are tough to watch. Also, he doesn't know how to edit audio, so dialogue is here and there, and it's usually people off camera speaking. And Tor he's being chased down by the KGB, and he's chased through a field, and a nuclear bomb test, darn, what the luck, terrible luck, goes off, and isn't too close to him. It just turns him into a beast. What he doesn't transform, he just gets covered with, I don't know, crap on his face. I don't know. It doesn't come up very well in the film. Whatever makeup they used, it's like, I don't know. It looks like he has powder on him, with kind of cornflakes underneath. I mean, it's really bad. It's actually not that cool looking. And then he staggers around for about 50 minutes, allegedly killing people. It's hard. It's hard film to watch. There's a lot of narration. I think this is the one with Flag on the Moon, and Flag on the Moon is pretty random narration, and I kind of adore that, actually. Number 3 is another Coleman Francis movie. It is Red Zone Cuba. They did three Coleman Francis films, and believe it or not, The Skydivers is not bad enough to be on this list. It's bad, it's not great, but it's at least somewhat fun to watch at times. He brought his A game for that one. But Coleman Francis' C game came with Red Zone Cuba. Coleman Francis himself is a escaped criminal who hooks up with these two guys that he gets a ride from, and they decide, hey, you know what? I know a guy who wants to invade Cuba. Why don't we do that? So they go do that, and they get caught. They escape. They come back, and this guy that they knew at the invasion, he said he had a mine that he was going to come back to and kind of dig it up. And they go, well, let's go dig up his mine and make some money and go do that. And they go hook up with his wife, and they decide to go do it. And the feds come and then shoot Coleman Francis in a field. The end. That's the movie. And all 3 Coleman Francis movies, by the way, end with a character getting shot in the field from a plane passing by. I'm not sure if he realized that he was repeating himself, but he was. This film is just painful to watch. And yeah, you wonder, like, was there a plot to this film? Did they just like, let's shoot this today and let's shoot that today? The whole Cuba thing ends like maybe halfway through the film, not even all the way through. It's depressing. If you have like depression issues, you shouldn't watch any of Coleman Francis movies, particularly this one. This was a tough film. Where are we? Number 2? Okay, now here's the thing. Number 2 and number 1 have always been really close and neck to neck for me. But maybe technicalities went out. Number 2 for me is The Creeping Terror. And I think, I was thinking about this the other day because I was wondering if I should rethink my list again, because I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and I don't know, I keep going back and forth on some of the choices. But Creeping Terror is a movie where a small town is invaded by the spaceship, and a monster comes out of it and starts eating people. Fortunately for the monster, this is a town where people really hadn't connected the idea of running from danger, so they kind of stand there and let the monster eat them, or even just climb into its mouth. And it mostly eats women, with the occasional dudes here and there, mostly off camera. So much to the point where you wonder if this is a little fetish for the director. and or maybe what he's aiming for. But the monster is hilariously bad. It looks like a giant carpet on top of like 4 people, and there's this guy controlling like these arms, I think, that is allegedly supposed to push people into its mouth, but I don't know. They're kind of helpless. They're T-Rex arms essentially. Oh, this film, it's a black and white film, and the lighting is off. The print is bad, and they lost. This is well known about the film. They lost the audio track for the film, and they were only able to get a couple of actors back to redub a couple of lines here and there, not even full scenes. So they had a narrator just go through and do the whole thing. It's like the first 20 minutes of Maleficent, except all the way through, and remarkably unimportant narration. And matter of fact, he even misses things. Like there's a fight scene at a party, and narration completely overlooks it. Like, oh, I'm sure that was something about something. This town also, by the way, throws wild parties at 2 in the afternoon, which I didn't know people did that in the 50s or 60s, maybe 60s. This is a really bad film, and without Mst3k, it's that I couldn't watch this. It's pretty much unwatchable. The only thing more unwatchable is my choice for number 1, and that is... Actually, wait. I will let you know that I've asked Lindsay what she thinks is the worst film. She wouldn't give me a full top 10 list, but she has told me over and over again that her choice is Zone Cuba. I've occasionally tortured her with this movie every so often. I will maybe pull the movie out maybe once a year, going, hey, I don't care what you think, we're watching Zone Cuba. And she's somewhat resentful for a few days, and then we kind of deal with it and move on as a couple. But I don't care, because I adore how bad Coleman Francis films are. Alright, my choice for number 1, it is Mst3k. Mst3k is, I can't remember the name of the director, but he also directed Giant Spider Invasion. And he apparently had some kind of trouble with the producers of the Money Men, where he, I think, stepped out of the film, and they finished the movie without him. And they finished with a completely different cast of characters. They get the movie like changes cast halfway through. The monster is barely a presence in the movie, and not a cool way where it kind of creates an atmosphere, or it's about something else and there's some metaphor. No, there was no monster. It tries to do something like a neat science fiction twist, but it just doesn't work, and it comes off really flat and kind of a rip-off. This also has bad narration as well, all the way through, and this also has better dialogue than Creeping Terror and a Coleman Francis movie, but not much better. The lighting is horrible. I mean, sometimes people standing right... You shouldn't complain about lighting in a movie, but you do when it's this bad. People don't have faces because the lighting is just too glaring on them. They stand ramrod straight and just read their lines to each other. It's too dark. You can't see a damn thing in some scenes. There's a kind of an action sequence where this guy's shooting, and I see a spark. I don't know where anybody is. I don't know what's happening, but it's apparently happening. And the creme de la creme, the thing that always pushes me to making this my choice for worst Mystery Science Theater film ever, and maybe worst movie ever. Yeah, I know Troll 2, and I know The Room, and blah, blah, blah. But this film cuts to a scene where somebody's getting a phone call. And there's a shot of a phone, the classic black rotary phone. And someone off camera goes, brrr. and the character picks up the phone and starts talking. That to me is evidence. Worst film ever. Okay, I get it. Maybe your phone wasn't plugged in, or maybe nobody knew the number to call that phone for your scene. Hey, it doesn't take that much creativity to, like, enter the scene with the guy on the phone. That's not too crazy. It's literally someone off camera making a phone noise with his mouth, and you can... Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing I would do as a kid when we'd be playing, toys or action figures and stuff, and somebody makes make a phone call. It's astounding. It's really amazingly bad. I love all these shows. What's ironic is I've seen these movies just as many times as I've seen my favorite movies. Maybe in some cases more, now that I think about it. But that's the thing about Mystery Science Theater, is that it's a weird film school, where it kind of shows you what not to do with film. Because since they have to make fun of everything, they kind of have to look and point out, here, what's wrong with the film, or even sometimes what's good about the movie. And boy, man, if you want to learn what not to do with movies, watch these episodes. Don't watch the films without them. No, don't do that. I wouldn't suggest that. But yeah, check these episodes out. Do you think that I know what I'm talking about? Because if you want, you can let me know what your choices are for the top 10 worst movies Mst3k ever did. Leave me a comment below, like or subscribe. And I think that's it. We're done. Push the button, that's it.